home dogs! Welcome to my art studio. I'm Carrie. I'm a self-published author and independent artist, and today I want to teach you how to both draw and paint a rose from scratch. And if you saw, of course in the title, you probably already noticed, we will be drawing with the aid, if you will, of a shot glass. If you have a shot glass available to use. If you don't, there's a lot of other circular shaped objects laying around you can probably use. I will show you once we get to the art table in a second some other objects that you might be able to use. There's a lot of options. I'm sure if you just look around you can find anything probably that's shaped like a circular little shot glass. But I chose a shot glass because I kind of figured it's like a universal thing, kind of like we did a couple weeks back. We did a video with painting a butterfly with the use of a spoon. So I'm sure everybody has a spoon laying around. I thought maybe a lot of people probably have a shot glass or something shaped like a shot glass laying around too, right? And the whole point of that is that it's going to help us create this little guy today. So this is just going to be a simple step-by-step rose. Don't panic looking at the whole thing at once and go, oh my gosh, that's a massive rose. How am I ever going to finish this? We're going to take things really slow, step by step, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do section by section. And we're really going to focus on shading technique today. So going ahead and head over clear space, and I'm going to go over all the materials you're going to need today. Let's go! Okay, so before we get started today, I just want to go over the few materials you're going to need for today's class. Students, okay. First thing, I mean, it goes without saying, but you need something to paint on. Don't just paint right on your table like I obviously do here, but you can use, this is actually watercolor paper, also kind of known as canvas paper. There's different kinds of it. So it's like a really thin paper. You can get this pretty cheap, and it's good to practice paintings on. But if you want, you can always use a canvas, either a canvas board or an actual, you know, like actual piece of canvas in any size that you want. And for our drawing portion today, you're going to want a ruler or a straight edge. We're only going to do 2 lines with it, so I mean, whatever you want. You can even use another sheet of paper if you don't have a ruler handy. Just anything with a straight edge. And yes, a pencil, of course. Mechanical is just fine because, you know, in the art world, everyone, don't use a mechanical pencil. Girl, I'm gonna use what I want. And I don't think it's a bad thing to use a mechanical pencil, but you do you. If you want to use this, you can use a number 2 pencil. Just whatever. And then, yes, our 2 items that we will need for the drawing portion today. A shot glass. This is a lovely trick-or-treat Halloween themed shot glass, even though it's definitely not Halloween right now. Maybe while you're watching this it is, but it's not here Halloween. Yeah, so take a shot. Just kidding. Don't drink your paint. Take a shot of paint. And then you can also use a cap. This is actually a cap off of a perfume bottle, a plastic cap. That works really good for this. If you don't have a shot glass, you can also use a larger plastic cap. This is where you kind of got to get creative and just look around. I'm like 100% sure that you all have something you can use around your house for this, because all we're going to do is use this to trace like circular edges of our rose today. This will be for the larger circular edges and then the smaller circular edges. So basically anything you can find that would be about, you know, a medium, not really large. This is actually kind of a big shot glass, I think, but anything like the size of a shot glass rim, and then anything about the size of like a smaller, either a smaller shot glass or a cap like this. And that's all you're going to need for your drawing portion today. While we're here, let's just go over quickly the things you'll need for painting. You're going to need 3 colors today, and that's it. Well, as I knock them all over the place. Plain white, of course, a red, any type of red. This is permanent red, which it's just a primary color red. Even neon red you could use if you want, but that can be a little bit tricky to mix. And then what I'm going to be using today is called burnt umber. You can find this like basically with any paint supplies ever. If you don't have it, you can go get it. Or I will also be showing you other ways that you can use in place of this. If you have a brown, this is essentially, if you're looking at it, it's like a light medium brown kind of color. This is what we're going to be using to do the dark spots and shading and that sort of thing. So a brown, if you have like a tube of craft paint that's in brown, that'll work really good too. Otherwise, you can use black, but that can be a little bit tricky. So I may show you later, if you have black, a little bit of an alternative way to do it, but ideally burnt umber, if not a brown. And then of course you're going to need a paintbrush, a bit of a medium to a small today, depending on the size of your shot glass. It will determine how big your rose is actually going to be. So you're kind of going to want it to be on the small side because shot glasses are pretty small and it's going to make a pretty small rose here. Something to mix with, I have this nifty paint spatula, but you can also use like craft sticks, popsicle sticks, any type of stick will work just fine. And of course your palette to mix your colors on. And then a cup of water and a napkin to wipe your brush off with. A little tip for your water, you can kind of go warm to hot. That'll help clean your brushes a lot faster and easier. So gather your materials and we will get started. Also, side note, I literally just realized this, but if you don't have a shot glass and a bottle cap or perfume cap to use, you can actually just use the caps on your paints. Because look at this, guys. It's pretty much, this is like identical. The same shape and size. So you can totally do that too. But I mean, if you have a shot glass already handy, there you go. And you can use the edge of either, if you have the big bottle, the smaller bottle, or one of these craft paint caps you can use, like as this part. So just a little tip. Okay, now that I've just discovered that mid video work here, let's go on ahead and we're going to start drawing today. So we're going to start, get your pencil all ready, and we're going to take, first we're going to use your bigger circle, whatever you have. If it's a shot glass, awesome, because that's kind of, you know, a universal size that we can use. But again, you can always use the end of your paint bottle if you have one like this. You can also, if you do have one of these, you could use one end and then the other, although this end's a little bit small, so that's where the shot glass might come in handy. So just whatever you have available. I'm going to be using the shot glass today to show you, the trick-or-treat shot glass. Okay, and to start off, we're going to place it kind of in this upper little quadrant here, and we're going to just trace the outside of it from about half of the outside around the top. Show you where I'm going with this. Like this. This is going to be our first. This is going to take, I already tested this, it should take precisely 20 marks today, 20 lines and curves. So you can probably handle that if you stick here with me. And then for number 2, we're going to go a little bit on this side of it. See where I'm putting it? Kind of overlapping with that line you just made. And again, not quite go from that line you made to pretty much almost halfway. I'm going to about here. Around this way. I'll move it so you can see. And then line number 3, we're going to put in the middle of this. See a little bit difficult for you to see in the video, but in the middle here, where like the center is kind of touching where those two lines are, we're gonna kind of overlap those two. About a half of a curve there. Now, we're going to go ahead and put it over this way. We're going to kind of go from here around, from this line, these two lines you've made, around half. That's what I'm going for. That's what we're going for. You can get your pencil all the way around. Mine's getting stuck. Ugh. About a half of a curve there. That's a little bit more than a half. And it's okay to erase at any point. Totally fine. It's okay to make mistakes. You can clean up your lines you did make. They overlapped a little bit. You can kind of clean them up there. Give you a chance if you need to pause and catch up. Totally fine at any point you need to pause and look back at things and try to, you know, get back up to where we are. That's totally fine. There's no shame in needing to go slow. That's how we learn, right? All right, now if we're gonna go on ahead and where this line is here, kind of a little bit, not quite to halfway of your glass. And we're going to go on ahead and do a really big curve on this one. You might have to come around here. Trying to show you. Oh, if I can get my hand out of the way. How far? That one was almost like a 3/4. See, I got stuck here. A little bit of like a 3/4 mark all the way around. Now we go down here. We're going to kind of overlap this one again. You can kind of see where I'm going. And right now we're doing the outer petals. And this one we're going to go about almost a little bit under halfway around. My pencil keeps getting stuck on this rim. Okay. Just clean up your lines as you go. Now we're going to go ahead and these two, we're going to kind of just make a curve from one to the other. Right? These two curves we just made, we're going to go around like that. You can do it pretty far out or pretty far in. This is your picture, so you get to make some executive decisions. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing each and every time. Okay. Now we're going to do a curve here that kind of connects this and kind of overlaps right here. You can line it up like that. And again, you can clean up that line. Actually, I did that pretty well. Matched that up good. Nice. Whoa. Okay. Now, we're going to do a bit of a curve over here to kind of wrap this and kind of wrap up the edge here. So I'm going to kind of match it to these 2 points here that we already have. And then from there, we're just going to curve around and see where it goes. Like that, yeah, that looks really good. Okay, now the last line that we're going to make with the big, whatever our big circular device is, if it's a shot glass or not. Okay, we're going to kind of connect these two here with a big curve. So you can line it up that way. Again, about a halfway curve. I feel like it's kind of hard to show you with my hand over top the glass, but you know, there's that curve there. You have your lines. Yes, this glass was being a little bit finicky for me. I think it's because there's like this lip on the edge, and maybe I should have done it this way. Oh well, either side. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and get our smaller cap out. So whatever you're using for this side, whether it's a, excuse me, this kind of a cap, finger cap, even a, what are these things called? Thimble. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of it. Oh, brain fart today. Brain farts everywhere. A thimble. My grandma loves those things. They use when you're like, you know, sewing. That would work too, just saying. Or the, like a bottle cap off of a water bottle, juice bottle, pop, soda bottle. That would work too. Okay, now that we got that taken care of, let's go ahead and start using this. So we're going to start kind of basically in the center of your whole design you've got going on here. And we're going to go ahead and make a curve about, I want to say, probably about halfway around. Trying to show you without getting my thumb in the way. Yeah, that's about halfway. Way around there. Yes. Now we're going to overlap with that, and we're going to kind of make like this line, a little bit of a curve here. That connects this end to like the inside of that curve we just did. So it's not a very big curve, but like that. Now for our next curve, we're going to kind of extend this one a little bit further up. So we're going to kind of put this over where it was and kind of keep it going about this way, about to this point here. Then show you what we're doing here. Then you can kind of clean up that. So it kind of makes a little bit of a bigger circle than what it would have been if we would have just traced this whole thing all the way around. If you get what I'm saying. Okay. Now, above this one, we're going to make two curves like this. You see what I'm getting at there. So, go on and just kind of like in between this curve, this big one, and the small one we just made, about here, and not quite halfway around your cap, but you know, pretty close to it. Nice curve there. Now we're going to do the same thing facing this way, but we're going to use this as our starting point, so it goes like this. This way. You can even extend that a little bit further down. I guess I could have made that. So that, yeah, we can make it so it connects to there. So make it from that point down here. That'll look nice. Now, we're going to connect of from here around on this way. You can see where I'm kind of marking with the pencil, so we can put that there and trace that, and that's going to be about half of the cap. And this. Like the way your eraser shreds as you go. Now we're going to kind of fill in this white space down here. So we're going to do the same thing and kind of, you can either have it a little bit further in or out. We're just going to kind of like in this general area make a bit of a half circle there that will connect kind of to this point here. Like that. Now for our last curvy with this bottle cap, we're going to try to connect this point and this point with a curve. So kind of put it wherever it needs to go to get that. And then you can kind of go around there and try to connect those 2 points. Awesome. Now for our final step, with your ruler or straight edge, we're going to go from about this point here. You can even make a mark there if you want. You kind of just have to guess about here to about right about in here. Let me show you where my marks are a little bit. We're going to just make a line that goes across here. And always know that it's totally fine if your rose so far is not looking exactly like mine, because inevitably everybody's is going to look different, and that's kind of the beauty of it. So. Now once you got that line, you can kind of clean up those marks you made, if you made them. Now from that point to somewhere along this curve here, I'll show you a little bit closer. This point to somewhere along this curve here, you're going to make another line with your straight edge, and you can move this a little bit if you need. So you can either go this way, this way. I'm going to go kind of right down the middle to connect those. Ta-da! And now you've got the outline of what is going to become our beautiful red rose today. Now, let's get ready. We're going to start painting. Yay, get excited. So I'm going to go ahead and move all my drawing supplies out of the way, including our beautiful trick or treat, smell my feet. Okay. Some candy would be good right now, though, I'm not gonna lie. And the pencil, get that out of the way. And now we're going to start bringing in our painting gear. So to start off, we're gonna have to mix our colors that we're going to use for today. So we're going to go ahead and get your palette out. You can either move your picture aside, or what I always do, I'm a rebel, just put it on top of what you're working on. I don't recommend doing that because you can get paint all over, but hey, that's just what I've always done because a little bit of laziness. So we're gonna get our paints out. We're going to be using our spatula. I'm going to bring in my napkin here in my water so you can see, because we'll have to wipe this off as we go. So we're going to start by mixing our colors for today. So what I'm going to do for this painting today is mix a couple of different shades of red because we're making a red rose. So we're going to use kind of two different methods, I guess, of color mixing today. One, we are going to mix some on our palette that we're going to use to paint with. And then also we're going to just have some plain white and burnt umber, or whatever you have in place of burnt umber, that we're going to have on the side that we can go on ahead and mix directly on the painting. More on that later, so don't worry about it. I will guide you through it. Do not panic. I promise. Please do not panic. Okay, so to start off, we're going to put in our permanent red. And try to struggle to get the cap off because you always get it everywhere. Alright, popped. See, I always get it around the rim and then it gets stuck, and what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Okay. So we're going to put a pretty hefty glob of red on there. Maybe a little bit more than that. Don't use too much because you don't want to waste your paint, but you know, you always want to have enough. So we're going to have a plain glob of red. That's going to be our base red for today. And then I want to do two different shades. Oh, I want to. You can do whatever you want to, but this is just the way. I'm just showing you, this is the method of how my brain likes to paint. And so I'm just showing you how I would do that, how I go about doing this. I'm sure different artists have different methods, but this is just what works for me. And so that's what I'd like to show you how to do. Maybe it'll work for you too. So this is going to be what I'm going to call our base red for today. And then we're also going to make two, a lighter shade and a darker shade. So go ahead and get two more globs of red. They don't have to be as big as the first one. Done with the red for now, unless we need some later, so I'm going to put that aside. Now, I'm going to go ahead. Sometimes my white gets stuck, so I gotta shake it out a bit. Let's see if this cap gets stuck on me too. Got it. Okay. Excuse the sound effects. Sound. I don't know why I was gonna say that. Okay. I think I was going for a mix between sound and noise. I don't. My brain today, I tell you. So we're going to go ahead. I hope you're enjoying the commentary, please. Add some white to one of our globs we just made. So that's going to end up being our lighter shade of red. And you're going to go about half and half white, half red, maybe a little bit less white, as a ratio to red right there. And then while we're here with the white, I'm also going to just do a plain glob of white over here. Oh, splat. Okay, that happens. Don't worry. It happens to everybody. No biggie. And so that's what we're going to be using for highlights in our picture today. Now, I think we're done with the white at least for now, so I'm going to put that aside too. Now, for our burnt umber, if you have it available, or your brown, whatever you have. If you have black, don't get out your black just yet. I will show you a way to do the black in a second. So, we have our lighter shade that we're going to mix here. So we're going to add this to this one to make our darker shade of red. So again, about a half ratio of red to a half ratio of our burnt umber, maybe a little bit less burnt umber than the red in this little blob here that we're going to mix up in a second. And then just like we did the white over here, I'm just going to put this to the side so we have some extra for shading. Now, again, if you have black, I will get to that in a second. Take your mixing spatula, and this is the fun part that is always really fun to watch in high-speed motion. And you're going to go ahead and mix each of these. Make sure you wipe off whatever you're mixing with in between though. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. It's going to start to look a little pinkish, because that is what light red is after all, in most cases. I know this is not fast motion video. This is just me mixing really quickly because I know I've done it enough times. But you go at your own pace, pause if you need to. This is really the fun part though, because you get to experience the magic of making your own colors. And then I like to kind of wipe off the excess right there before I wipe the rest of it on our napkin. And then do the same with this glop here that we were doing. And this is going to be nice and dark. Not so dark that it's like, whoa, what is this? But dark enough. Wipe that there before we wipe it off over here. Now, while you're mixing that, I also want to show how you can do this a little bit with black, if you have that available. Just a second. Okay, if you only have, again, I very highly recommend using the burnt umber for this, especially if you are a beginner, because it's going to be a lot easier to work with, or brown. Brown works as well. But if you do not, and you have, say, black available, I think a lot of us have black paint available because we don't always think, if you don't know about burnt umber, you don't always get it. So I actually don't have a nifty little bottle of black because I never use it. I always use this burnt umber for my red shades, and for my cooler shades, I use what is called raw umber. I always use the two umbers for shading because I think it works a lot better than trying to use black. Black is very tricky. So, if you only have black though, I want to show you how you can still do it. Basically, you're going to do the same thing, but you're just going to be really cautious about how much black you add. So I'm going to show you on this other wooden palette I have here. So let's say you're making your darker tone here. I'm going to get out my crafty big bottle of liquid black paint here and take your spatula, and you're just going to take like very tiny, like just the tip of it, amounts at a time, and add that to your red to mix. I'm gonna wipe that off before I go in for more. Again, just very tiny like amounts, because black is very, very tricky. I'm gonna incorporate that a bit. I'm just be careful that your black doesn't overpower your red, is what I'm getting at. And also because black tends to be made with blue or cool undertones, which is like the opposite, not the exact opposite, but it doesn't always work well with red. This is actually working pretty well today. This black is not overpowering it as much. There, and I think that's about the color I would be going for. And of course you can make a bigger splotch of this than what I'm making. I'm just doing it to demonstrate, to show you how much or how you would go about mixing it. But for your painting you might need more paint than this, so you can add some more red, some more black, make up a little bit more. And now here I want to show you, I wipe that off again. See if you can tell the difference or not between these two shades of red. This one's still a little bit darker, so I would maybe add a little bit more black to that, but again, you don't want to overpower your red. So that is another way that you can make your darker shade of red with black. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside because I won't be using black today. And then the same thing, when we do go in to do our shading, you'll want a little bit of a splotch of black to work with. But when you do your shading, and I'll help you out when you get to that point, if you are using black, you want to use very tiny amounts at a time so you don't overpower what's already on your picture. So, it is time that we are going to begin painting. Yay! Get so excited. Okay, the moment you've all been waiting for. Again, I hope you love the voiceover. So, we're going to go ahead and get started with painting. Again, this is a big thing we've got going on here, but we're going to take things step by step. Not only so you don't get overwhelmed, so that I don't get overwhelmed. This is the method of painting I also like to use, is take things one step at a time. Don't look at your whole rows and be like, oh my gosh, how am I ever gonna get this done? Take things one step at a time, and you'll get there. You'll get there. And it'll be fine. No need to panic or feel overwhelmed. It'll be fine. So take your brush that you'll be using today, and get it wet in your water. We always get it wet to start with, just so it's a little bit more pliable, and wipe it off on your napkin here. I'm going to go ahead and fold this over a little bit so I don't get, there we go. So that when I wipe it, it's not touching those paint splotches that I already have there. Now, like I said, we're going to go ahead and take things section by section, step by step, step by step. Ooh, baby. So, we're going to go ahead and do, I think I'm going to go from the outside in. You can either go, well, really looking at this, we can either go from the inside out or the outside in. I think today I'm going to go from the outside in. So, not sure if it's going to be easier on the outside or easier on the inside. We'll see how it goes when we get there. Cross that bridge when you get to it, right? So, time to start getting paint on your brush. Do not be afraid. Don't be scared. It's alright. We're going to go ahead and start off with regular red. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with this corner here. And I'm going to start filling this part in. This little round petal we've got here. Pretty much completely with this red. A lot of this rose we're going to be doing today is going to help you practice your shading and highlighting techniques, if you like to call it that. I'm not sure if that's actually a professional term or not, but I'm going to call it one. Because we're going to be kind of starting off with this base red, and then we're going to be using a lot of our light and our dark, and then when we really want to highlight, we're going to use the just straight up white and straight up dark, whatever you have as your dark today, to do our highlights and our lowlights. You know, like when you're highlighting your hair or lowlighting your hair. If you've ever dyed your hair before, you know what I'm saying. It's the highlights and the lowlights. It's the same thing here. So, without cleaning your brush off yet, I also like to do this. Don't clean it off too much. I mean, if there's too much on it, yeah, you're going to need to clean it. And I'll tell you when I'm going to clean mine, and so you can kind of get into the groove of when to clean your brush. Because sometimes we do want to keep a little bit of that base red on there to help us with our blending. This is also going to work on our blending techniques, which I think is really important as a painter. Whatever level of painting you're at, it's always good to work on your blending techniques. So we're going to go on ahead, and for this petal, it's going to be pretty dark. So we're going to go on ahead and dip it right into our dark a little bit. And I'm going to go around the edge here with this dark. Along this curved edge, get a little bit more on there if you need. And then instead of just leaving this stark line there, we're going to blend it with these like wispy stroke motions. And kind of bring it towards the center, and that's going to be part of your blending technique. All along this edge here. And get it to about the center of your petal. And then we're also going to do dark along these edges here. and blend that into the center as well. So it's kind of going to be a little bit lighter in the center, and it's going to be like darker going to the whatever the edges of this petal is. So again, along this edge here, and this edge here. And then instead of leaving that big line, just kind of blend towards the center. And if you get too much on your brush, now would be a good time to go on ahead and wipe it off. You don't really have to wash it too much because we're not going from color to color today. Unless you get a lot on there and you really need to. Okay. And then if you've kind of like, if you look at it and you think you've lost that base red that's lighter in the center, you can go on ahead and put some more base red back in the center and blend the other way. And blend it towards the edges, so it's like blending it back out. That's a good way to do that. Okay. Now, I'm going to go on ahead and move on to this petal next. If you're not quite done with this one yet, that's totally fine. You can pause now and wait, and then you can catch up with me in a second. But for this one, we're going to go with a little bit of a lighter red, just to start with. So instead of putting down my base red right away, I'm going to put down the lighter red because I want this one to really pop out. So we're going to fill the whole thing in with our lighter red that we mixed. It's going to be a little bit pinkish. And now with this one, we're going to do, bring in this base red, and we're going to do it along here and bring it towards the center. You know, along this whole like inner area, these like inner petals, like right here, and this curve here, we're gonna go along that like line with the base red. And then again, instead of leaving that as like this stark line all the way across there, you're gonna blend it like we've been doing, blend it towards the middle of your petal. You're gonna get really good at blending today, I promise. It just takes practice. Don't get frustrated. Again, I think a really easy mistake to make is that you get too much paint on your brush, so you can just wipe it off and then go back in and blend some more. But these blending of the light and dark is what's going to make our rose look like really like realistic, maybe even hyper realistic when we are done. So now that I'm done with that petal, I'm going to go on ahead and move on to this one here. And I think for this one, I'm going to I'm going to follow this line that we started. I'm going to kind of connect these 2 points here and just paint this area down. So I'm not going to worry about this straight line and all that yet. I'm going to leave that. We're going to do that when we get more towards the center. But again, we're going to do like these outside petals and then move in towards the center. Section by section. We're not going to overwhelm ourselves with too much at once, which I am prone to doing while I am painting. So we're going to steer clear of doing that. So for this one, I want to do it kind of the same way that we did this first petal, with a little bit of a darker, but start off with your base red. And what I mean is we're going to follow this line like all the way to this point, about, if you can see. And then we're just going to fill in this whole petal from there with this base red to start off with. So this is the part that's easy, no blending here. Just like paint by number. Although you can still kind of practice that technique, because that's kind of what fills it in the fastest, I think, anyway. Kind of like wiggle wiggle and swipe swipe. Practice your different stroking techniques. Okay. And now once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and take, I might wipe my brush a little bit because there's a little bit on there. And we're going to go ahead along, you know, this line that we had here. We're going to do the darker line. Like that. And then use your blending technique to bring it towards the center. If you got too much, wipe it off. If you need more, get more. And just keep blending it towards the center of your petal. As always, do not worry about making mistakes. We all make mistakes. And the thing I love about paint is that if you make a mistake, it is so easy to fix and redo it, right? Especially with acrylics, because we can just kind of paint over what we just did. If it's like, you're like, it's beyond repair, let it dry. Acrylic paint literally only takes like 30 seconds, sometimes 30 seconds to like 2 minutes to dry. And then you can just, you know, redo it all over again. If you're like, nope, this petal is just done for, let it dry, it'll be okay. And then rewind the video and go back and just start all over and just, you know, paint over the whole thing again with your base paint, with your base red color, and then just go in and try blending with the dark again. It'll be okay. I promise. Just give yourself some grace, and just remember, we're all here to practice and relax and have fun. So have fun. It'll be great. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to wash my brush this time, because we're going to switch from dark to light, and I don't want to contaminate our colors too much in our painting. That off as good as you can. We don't really want a lot of water in it. We're not doing watercolor today. That's something for another day. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and take a bit of our lighter. We're going to go from the outer edge in with the light, with our lighter shade here. not all the way, from about this point to that, like where the edges of your dark blending were. So from about the middle to the other edge. And then you're going to go ahead and blend the other way back towards the center. You can experiment with going your brush this way, with going your brush that way. You know, we're going towards the center, but it's still kind of helpful to use stroking either this way versus this way. You can try out both ways to get the best blend. I don't know if there's such thing as over blending, but if there is, I probably do it all the time. Blending is just fun. It's really just fun. Now, if you're ready, if not, pause. And I think we're ready. We're going to continue on with this petal here. We're going to start off again, just coating it with your base red. You can do some long brush strokes here, mix with some short ones, mix things up. Just getting it coated with that base red there. Now we're going to go on ahead and just like we did this one, and we're going to do the dark all the way around the outside edge and the inside edges of the entire petal and blend everything towards the center. So like this one we did, you know, one step at a time. The outside blended in, the inside blended in. This time, if you want to, you can do that again. Take it one edge, then the other edge. Or if you want, challenge yourself a little bit and do it all at once. Take that dark all the way around all of these edges. See how we got that line there? And then I'm going to wipe it off because I got a little bit too much on it. Actually, everyone, I would go ahead and wipe it off now if you did that. And then you can go on ahead and blend everything towards the center. Start off by going along each edge and then go around again. Gentle blending on this one. Go around a couple of times. And then you got this nice red in the center. If you don't think, if you got too over blended, again, you can go back with your base red and go back in the center and blend back the other way. Now, if you're ready, the next petal, we're going to do this one. We're just going to keep going around clockwise. Well, I guess this is counterclockwise, but you know, like a clockwork. And this one, we're going to go ahead and fill in again with our base red. little white spots filled in. I'm going to wipe my brush, got a little bit too much paint on there now. And now we're going to go on ahead and kind of like this one, I think this one we did the light and then we blended the red up, but this one we're going to do, we've got this base red here, and along this upper edge, we're going to incorporate the light shade of red and blend that towards the center. So this all along this upper curve. And blend that all in towards the center. Just like that. Okay, and I think this is a good spot that we're going to start experimenting with using, don't get scared, but experimenting, we're not going to use the dark just yet, but using our bright white and blending it right on the page. I think this is a good time to start doing that. Take a deep breath, it's going to be okay. So, you know, don't clean your brush off yet, but now, with going in, we're just going to take tiny amounts of white, take very small to start, and again going along this curve, tiny amounts, get this white line all the way across there, and then start blending that white in and doing the same thing, taking it towards the center, but it's kind of going to make a little bit of an ombre effect. And do it just until you have all that white blended in. If you want to make it even lighter, we can add some more white. I'm going to make mine a little bit lighter by adding more white. Showing you we don't have to be scared of it. Blending on the page. And just keep blending it towards the center. Awesome. This rose is starting to really look very beautiful. All right, now I think we're ready. We're going to keep moving on to this next petal area here. So, because we had a lot of white on the brush, I'm going to go ahead and clean it in the water and wipe it off again. Keeping things sanitary. And now, with this petal, I'm going to go ahead and use our base red again. It's a pretty big petal petals are getting bigger on us. Big spaces to fill. So take your time. And once you've got that whole space filled in, we're actually going to do light and dark. We're going to do highlights and lowlights on this one. So, pick your choice. Do you want to start out with dark or do you want to start out with light? I'm going to recommend starting out with the light areas first. Doing light to dark so that we don't somehow contaminate the light with the dark. It's a lot easier to make things look darker than to make things look lighter. You know what I mean? So, take our light, and we're going to do the light along, oh, that was a lot on there. A light along this upper curve like we just did on the previous petal there. Put your line in there and then start blending it towards the center, as always. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush because we're going to move on to dark now. And we're going to use our dark mix along these bottom edges and go up. Blend upwards with it. If you're finding it hard to blend up, you can always rotate your picture the other way and bring it down, you know. That looks really good, you guys. You guys are doing awesome. Okay, we're going to be moving towards the center very soon. So get ready, don't panic, stay calm. I'm going ahead and I'm going to clean my brush again just because we had a lot of different colors going on there. Now, for this giant petal we've got going here, giant. To start off, we're just going to coat it all in with this base red, this whole big circle here. And again, pause if you need to take a moment to catch up. You see where this line is here, we're just going to go ahead and go all the way around that line. Again, we're not going quite into the center yet. I believe this might be our last true outer edge. Sometimes get a little frantic with the brush, just go, whoa, just fill it in. The brush strokes don't really matter at this point before we start the blending process. And now, once you've got that pretty much filled in, we're going to do the light all the way around the top curve like we've been doing, just to start. All the way down here. all the way along this edge too. And as always, blend it in towards the center. Quite a lot of light on this one, so don't be afraid of it. It's a big space to fill to get towards that center. This petal may be a slight challenge for us, just because it's so big. Now, I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush again because we're going to be moving into some really dark areas in a second. Now, along this whole area, I'm going to be using our dark along this edge and back towards the center. And if you go over the line that we've kind of created here, that's totally fine too, because we'll get to that part in a moment, well, a few moments. Blending, just keep blending, blending. What do? We blend. Finding Nemo, anybody? Movie of my childhood. I guess I'm cueing you in on my age a bit, but you know. Like I always tell everyone, I'm actually much older than I appear to be. I've got a bit of the baby face syndrome. Okay. I know you were all thinking it. You were all curious. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to wipe my brush off for a minute. Okay. Next, I think we're going to go on ahead and we're going to do this little petal area here, which is going to be quite light compared to the other ones. It's going to be kind of a highlight area. So things are going to be where we're going to start using a lot of our white and our dark colors, our highlights and our low light colors right on the page. So be prepared. But don't panic, please don't panic. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fill this. You can fill this in with me. Just from right here. And then around this. Around this. Along this edge. On here. And along here. So about right there. You see where I'm kind of crossing it off here. Going all the way across this edge. And you'll already start to see a contrast between this light and the dark lines that we already did on those petals. So that's going to create some depth in our flower here. Trying to keep the shape here of those lines that we've got. Once you've got that, trying to get that to a point there. Okay. Then once you've got that, we're going to use our white like we did before and go all the way over, all the way, this entire curve, all the way around that entire curve. Blend it. You can kind of blend as you go. So just keep bringing it in and blending it as you go. We want it to be really kind of light. Oops, I went outside the lines, but that's okay. I'm gonna mix it in anyway. Just kind of extend the line of the petal there. Line, yep. It's gonna make it pretty, pretty, and also very light. Make it a little bit lighter here even. See, now I'm just kind of taking the white along the very edge and just swiping it until it kind of blends in, so it's very, very light. Okay, I think that looks good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush off since I had a lot of white on there. Swirl it around there and get all that water off. Now, oops, I got water on there. Oh well. Oopsies. It happens. It'll dry, it's just water. So now, I want to go kind of skip this inside for now. We'll come back to it. And we're going to go from this line and then this area here. Let's see where I'm kind of going with this whole curve up to this line. And I want to fill that in with our base red. Right here you can kind of connect the dots there a little bit with your brush. Along that curve, curvy curve. On that whole point there. Now for this one, we're going to take our dark shade of red, not too much on there, and go all the way along this line, this really stark line that we made with our ruler earlier, see, and blend that towards the center of the petal again. And that is looking good. Okay, and I'm just gonna dry wipe my brush for our next area. We're gonna do the same thing with this, from this line to this whole curve here. We're gonna do the same thing, pretty much the exact same thing. Fill it all in with your base red. once you've got that, we're going to do that dark shade along this line, just like we did over there. If you go over the line, that's okay, because I totally just did. Just to make it as straight as possible. Sometimes perfectly straight is not always possible. Okay. And then going ahead and blend that back down towards the center. This very thin petal we've got here. And I'm going to wipe that because this one's so thin. I'm getting really close to this outer edge and I don't really want to, so I'm going to take my base red along that edge and I'm kind of going to blend back the other way with that base red. I think that's looking a lot better now. That real quick. Now, things are going to start getting a little bit interesting because now we are finally going to start using our dark low light color right on the page, whether it's your brown, your burnt umber, or your black. Again, if you're using black, I advise you to use very small amounts at a time. But for this first part, we're all going to pretty much do the same thing, no matter what color you have. And we're going to follow this line, these lines that we made with the ruler. Each of those lines we're going to follow with this very dark color. And we're going to start blending it towards the inside of this whole space. And I want you to follow along with me so you know what I'm talking about. So, first I'm going to do it along this line. And it's going to get into this thin section here. So when I'm in this thin section, I'm going to follow these other curves here and just fill them in with the dark too. And you can do this if you have the black too. I'm going to do the same thing along this line. So I've got that line there. And then I'm going to fill in this section the same way along this line. And this line. See how I've kind of outlined this area right here that you're going to want to fill that in. Now that we've got these pretty thick lines here, now for this area here and this area here, we're going to fill in with our medium red, and we're going to blend it with this line that we've just created, right? So without wiping your brush, if you already wiped, just get a little bit more of this color on there, and take your medium red on your brush, and where you stop that line, start blending it from that line inward in this section, and then we'll also do that section next. keep blending it upward in this section. And I'm actually going to get a little bit darker, more of our dark here, so that we don't have a, there we go, because it started to dry up on me, so I need a little bit more on there. Just keep blending it up. I'm going to get some more medium red across that line where I kind of stopped the blending. I'm going to do that medium red and then blend from there. So we're gradually making it lighter. And then from this like line that I kind of stopped here, we're going to get more medium red without wiping my brush and just keep going upward, little sections at a time. I'm going to get a little bit more then to fill in this rest. With that medium red. Yeah, we did that. Now, I'm going to wipe my brush just a little bit. And I'm going to come back over to this section and I'm going to try to do the same thing. So I'm going to start out with my medium red and do it along that line we just created. And I'm going to get more because it's already dry on me. More of the dark, so that we can blend it in with that medium red as we go. I'm going to try not to lose my line though that we created, because we do want, on this side, we do want that stark line on this side. We don't want to blend on this side that we've already done. We want to leave that. We're just blending this way to the left. You know the song? To the left, to the left. I bet I've got you singing the song now. Beyonce. I get some more medium red here. Blend along the line. Get some more medium red. Blend another long strip. Then I'm going to pretty much get it to the edge here. Look at that. Was that hard? Could not have been that hard. Alright. Now would be a good time to pause. Make sure you're at a good place. If you need to back up to, you know, go over that again, catch up. Like I always say, wipe your brush off. Clean it when you're done with that section. Like I always say, if you need to redo that section, you can always paint over it. Let it dry a little bit and then just paint over and redo that section and back up the video and see it again. Now we're going to go ahead and, like we're doing this step by step, petal by petal. We're pedaling along. Oh, that was a good one, sorry. We're going to go ahead and do this little section and this little section next. So to do that, yeah, you can't really fill it in with the end of your brush. I'm just outlining it and getting flakes off of this. I use really cheap brushes, you guys. I really do. I need to get some better ones. But anyway. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do these two sections. So to start off, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use our darker shade of red. And we're going to fill it in, as we've been doing, along this edge. You're going to see a little bit of a contrast from that area we just did, because that area will be darker. See, it's going to be a little bit of a stark line because this area was darker, but that's kind of what we want. You can go on ahead and fill in this whole section with that. Just like so. And now we want to do some light. So we just did the dark, and it was, bear with me here. But we're going to do this light now, right along the upper edges. I'll show you here and here. There and there, and blend your way downward as we've been doing. Small section, so that one shouldn't take you too awful long. You don't have to overblend. And now we are going to take some white again and go along the edges and do the same thing with white, because we really want this edge to be white so we get some really good contrast in this petal here. Now that we're getting closer to the center, there's going to be a lot of contrasting light and dark together, and it's gonna be a little bit more tricky than the outer ones, but it's fine. Just follow along with me and you'll be good. Okay, you can see that I'm getting pretty close to this edge, so I am gonna go back with my dark and blend back the other way with the dark. Blending doesn't really have to be perfect on this one because it is such a light on this side and dark on this side, so it's not going to blend 100% like an ombre effect in, but just the best we can get it so that it looks like a really real petal there. Okay, I am going to wash my brush again this time so that we can do our next section. We're going to do it kind of the same method. Now we're going to do this area. We're going to kind of, you know, connect here like make our own little line. And we'll do the same thing by filling it all in with the darker. All filled in. Once we have that looking really good and filled in, we'll do the same thing, not really needing to wipe off your brush yet. And take your lighter shade of red and go all along this upper edge, quite a bit of it, and start blending downward. Take too long, small section again, and then again take a little bit of white at the end of your brush, your line of white, do the same thing. I think I am going to take the dark red and go back up the other way. Again, trying to blend it from the other side as well. These small areas can be very tricky. That's why a small brush is really useful. Just do the best you can. We're just here to practice, remember? Practice, practice. Okay. Now I am going to clean my brush again. Ready for our next section. We're almost there. Get excited. You're almost there. Now from here, I'm going to keep moving upwards this way. We're going to take our dark color, whatever you have, brown or black, for our specialty burnt umber here. And we're going to fill in this section just like we did with along the line, just plain this section, no blending here. We're just going to make a line from that section we did across. See how I'm doing it here? And then it'll be this whole little piece here is going to get filled in with this. Small sections, so take your time on this. It is tricky to fill in these small areas. Okay, and now while you have that on your brush, mine's actually coming up the brush. You kind of want to get it on the tip, not all the way up the brush. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to make a thin line along these edges here. So just follow along with me on this one. Around this curve. It's okay if your line gets a little bit thick. We don't want it so thin that you can't see it either. And along this line here. Just like that. This will test how steady can you hold your brush without shaking. I know it's hard, but just try. You got it, just try. Okay. Breathe. Relax your hand if you need to after that one. Now, wipe this off again. Actually, you can clean it if you want at that point. We're going to go ahead and keep continuing to the central portion. Center of the rose. Journey to the center of the rose. That's what we should call this. Okay. So I'm thinking we'll do kind of this area next, right under that, although that is going to be a little bit wet. So maybe if you want to pause and take a second, that'll make it a little bit easier on yourself. But if not, let's keep going. And we're going to go on ahead and fill this all in with our base red from here. Take this line all the way across. All the way like that. And then there, filling in all these two little humps here, like camel humps. These two here. Yes, camel humps. That's the type of humps we're talking about here. Not the other song from the era of To the Left to Left. Okay. Again, this might be kind of tricky because that area might still be wet. That might mean it might be a good thing to let this dark line dry before you do this area. We don't want to blend that line with this section. Now, once you've got that, we're going to go on ahead and use our white again on the tip of the brush and go along these upper edges, like where we made that line. This. Start blending down. Now, we're just going ahead, do this area. We're going to fill this one in with our medium red shade. Then we're going to take our lighter shade and go along this edge here, the bottom edge. That. A little bit much on there. Blend that towards the center again. This is a small section too, so don't get too much paint on your brush. Then we're going to do the same thing we did up there. That we're going to take a little bit of white on the end of the brush, go along the upper edge, and start blending again. Now we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're not going to blend this part, but we're going to take a little bit on the tip of the brush, and we're just going to create a thin line along this lower ledge that we've been blending against. We're not going to blend it, we just want to make a really thin line. If you don't like the way your line turns out, blend it back in, wipe it away. You can also use your thumb to blend, to kind of wipe and blend that away, and then you can try again. Try to get a really thin line though. Easier to do when it is a little bit wet, because it glides a little bit more easily. Okay. Now, we don't have any lines drawn out for this, but that's totally fine. We're going to make our own. We're going to make 2 sections on either side of the center, so we don't have a really big, giant, I don't want to do this big of a center in our rose. And we're just going to fill those in with our medium red. So right here, you can make a line on this side like that, line on this side like that. You curve them a little bit if you want, or just make straight lines. Just go shoop, shoop. Easy enough, right? If you don't like the way your lines look, that's okay. Just do the best you can. And then fill those 2 sections in with our medium red. Gently, gently, because it is small, even tinier areas than before. But you're so close, you're almost there. Wipe that off a little bit. I got a bit too much on there. Now, before we fill in our center, we're going to take a little bit of white again. And just like we did down here with that thin line, we're going to do that on the inside of these. It can be a little bit thicker if you want. Might kind of blend in with the middle area because the page is white, but you know. You can. If your lines look a little bit too thick, you can go back with your medium red and just go over the edge of it to make it thinner. It's a really good tip when you're making lines. and you're making lines on a colored page, like on another color, just go back with that other color if the line's too thick and cover it up, cover part of it up. It's an easy way to do it. It's kind of like erasing if we were drawing. Wipe your brush a little bit. And now with our darkest dark color, I'm going to fill in this center portion. And try not to hide those white lines that we just made. But if you do, you can go back and put those white lines on again once we're finished here. And then, once you feel satisfied with that, wipe your brush off one more time. And ta-da! I'm calling it, we are completely done with your beautiful rose design. Look at that, you guys. You did awesome today. I hope you learned something, and you probably learned a lot of blending techniques, a little bit of color mixing, different substitutes you can use if you don't have that burnt umber. Remember, you could use brown or black, but remember with the black, we just got to be a little bit more careful. The black might make your rose a little bit darker than this, but that's okay too. And yes. So again, I hope you guys really enjoyed making your rose today with me. Make sure you clean your brushes really well after this with, hot water in the sink and everything, and make sure you clean your palettes off. But other than that, you guys, we are done. So leave a comment, leave a like, let me know what you thought of this class, if you really enjoyed it. Let me know if there are any other painting techniques you want to learn, or pictures you want to learn rather. Different things you'd like to see, that you'd like to do. I'm hoping to make some more of these wonderful classes for you guys and share them here so that we can all paint together and enjoy. And yeah, let me know how it went for you guys. And later, home dogs!